And my friends Mona Jmawi and Sadia Mubarak are doing a presentation on the lexical and natural approach. First, I'm starting with giving a definition of the lexical approach. The lexical approach is a way of analyzing and teaching language based on the idea that is made up of lexical units rather than grammatical structures. The units are words, chunks formed by collocations and fixed phrases. The lexical approach consists of three main types of chunks: collocations, which are two or more words that are grouped together. For example, here we have sense of humor, terrible accident, or heavy rain. The next one is fixed expressions, which are expressions that cannot be changed or can only be changed minimally. For example, we have here take the bull by the horns, a piece of cake. Lastly, we have here semi-fixed expressions, which are expressions that have at least one slot into which a number of different words or phrases can be inserted. Here we have an example. Have you taken into account? So here we move to the second slide, which consists of the characteristics of the lexical approach. Language consists of grammaticalized lexis, not lexicalized grammar. The basic meaning here is that lexis is central in creating meaning, and grammar plays a secondary role in managing meaning. Lexis, rather than grammar, plays a primary role in language acquisition. The focus in language teaching should be on teaching students lexical structures, for example, collocations or idiomatic expressions, because it helps them in real life communications to communicate with other people rather than focusing only on teaching grammatical structures. The grammar-lexis dichotomy is invalid. Here, we can't separate between lexis and grammar because grammar is part of lexis. We teach grammar within lexis. We should teach grammar within lexical structures. Learning a second language depends on having access to a stack of lexical items or chunks rather than a list of words or grammatical rules. It's much easier to acquire language by learning chunks or group of words that will be helpful for students to use in real life communication with other people or native speakers, rather than just memorizing individual words or learning grammatical rules. Here we move to the next slide. We have here student roles. He is the analyzer of real-life language samples based on his or her own explanation. The student analyzes and gets the meaning of the lexical unit that he encountered in real life. When the student encounters a new expression, he analyzes and gets the meaning from the context. The idea of learner as a discoverer. Here the learner is an active learner that participates in his or her own learning. Students also need to be aware of some of the lexical structures so he could use them for communication and understanding expression that he will encounter in learning the language. We move here to the next slide. Here we have the teacher roles. First one is teacher talk is a major source of learners' input. It means that the teacher is one to help and facilitate the process of learning for students and provide them with sufficient input. He also creates a supportive and operative environment to help the students learn. Teachers also help students become aware of lexical structures that commonly occur in language. He helps students be aware of the lexical units that are commonly used in target language, so for them to communicate effectively, and help students to be able to use expressions that are used by native speakers. We move here to the advantages of the lexical approach. The first advantage of the lexical approach is that we are teaching language patterns as they are used by native speakers, and because they are context bound, they can easily be acquired as chunk, so we don't need to understand the meaning of every word to get the meaning of the whole expression. The emphasis is on successful communication, not on grammar mastery. We focus on communication and for students to be able to use those words, chunks, to communicate instead of the mastery of grammar structure. So here we say that the lexical approach focuses on fluency, not accuracy. The lexical approach speeds up language acquisition because we focus on word chunks, not on individual words, which lead to students to acquire a big amount of language input in short time, which lead to saving a lot of time. It also helps students communicate in a meaningful way. Now we are moving to the types of activities that should be used in classrooms according to the lexical approach. Those activities consist of guessing the meaning of vocabulary item from the context. Students had to guess the meaning of an idiomatic expression, for example, from the context of a text. Intensive and extensive reading and listening, which will help students accumulate new lexical patterns, categorizing word chunks, completing the missing parts. Students are required to complete a lexical unit or expression or match between the first part of a collocation and the second part. All those activities will help students develop a great ability to recognize and use those language chunks in real communication. In here we have an example of an exercise that is used to teach lexical units. Here the students are required to fill in the blanks with the appropriate verbs from the list to form an expression. And here we move to the second task. The second task is a matching activity. The students are asked to match between the first and second part of a collocation.
Hello everyone, my name is Munaj Mawi, and before we start a lesson following the lexical approach, let's take a look at some objectives of this approach. The first one is to get students to become aware of, use, and to eventually master these meaningful multi-word chunks, collocations, and fixed utterances. To help students notice how language is typically used, for the student to be able to break wholes into parts, and to acquire grammar by observing, making hypotheses, and experimenting. We can use whole phrases without understanding their parts. Now the lesson that we have here is a reading lesson. After reading the text under the title A Memorable Occasion, students answer the first exercise where they have to fill in the blanks using words from the text. For example, the first one is going to be I never regretted my snap decision. And the second one is we got off the train. The second activity, now take a look at this sentence and try to find or to break it down into 3 chunks or groups of words. Done? Good. Now the first one is of course, and the second one is get on well, and the third is close friends. Now try to find chunks like these in the text. The third exercise, students have to work in pairs and they have to choose 5 words from the text that they think is important and try to tell or retell the story of the teacher to their friends. The fourth exercise, here we have a model sentence, must have been. Now, remembering the events that we read in the text, we complete the sentence or we make sentences using this model. For example, when the teacher arrived to the city, she had to go to work immediately. So we can say that she must have been exhausted. Now for the last activity, the students are required to write a small text about a memorable occasion of their own. This brings us to the end of the lesson. Now let's take a look at the lexical approach disadvantages. According to Scott Thornberry, one of the disadvantages of the lexical approach lays in its over-reliance on Krashen's view of language acquisition, in the lack of guiding principles for building a syllabus. Seth argues against a strong version of the lexical approach that downplays the importance of meaning at the word level. In his article, Chunks in the Classroom, Let's Not Go Overboard, approaches1 says, if these patterns, meaning grammatical patterns, are not known, communication beyond the phrasebook level is not possible. As somebody memorably put it, language becomes all chunks but no pineapple. And by pineapple here he means language. In his article, The Lexical Approach is Dead, Ivor does not mean to criticize the approach, but it's an attempt to explain why the lexical approach has not gained wide acceptance in the English language teaching. Catherine Walter defends explicit teaching of grammar rules and by virtue of it dismisses the approaches and methods that place less emphasis on it, and the lexical approach is one of them. Powell's main argument is that lexically rich input is not sufficient to learn a language. This is it for the lexical approach. Now let's see the natural approach. And we start by the introduction. The natural approach developed by Tracy Turrell and Stephen Krashen is a language teaching approach which claims that language learning is a reproduction of the way humans naturally acquire their native language. The natural approach is based on the theory that language acquisition occurs only when students receive comprehensible input. The emphasis is on reading and listening comprehension for beginning students. Concerning the theory of language, Krashen and Turrell view communication as the primary function of language, focusing on teaching communicative abilities rather than sterile language structures. Language is viewed as a vehicle for communicating meaning and messages. Vocabulary is of paramount importance, as language is essentially its lexicon. Now, for the theory of learning, it's based on the hypotheses of Krashen. The first one is the acquisition learning hypothesis. Krashen makes a distinction between acquisition and learning. The second is the monitor hypothesis. It's an editor that checks and repairs the output. We use it to correct ourselves when speaking. The third is the natural order hypothesis. The acquisition of the grammatical structures proceeds in a predictable order. The input hypothesis. It states that people acquire language best by understanding input that is slightly beyond their level of competence, I+1, And the last one is the affective filter hypothesis. The lower it is, the better for the learning of the language. Now, the natural approach principles are the following. Teaching according to the natural approach focuses on communicative abilities. One of its objectives is to help beginners begin or become intermediate. Vocabulary is considered prior to syntactic structures. A lot of comprehensible input must be provided. Use of visual aids to help comprehension. The focus is on listening and reading, speaking emerges later, and reducing the high filter or the high affective filter. For the learner rules, provide information about their specific goals, take an active role in ensuring comprehensible input, decide when to start producing speech and when to upgrade it, decide where learning exercises are to be a part of the program, decide with the teacher the relative amount of time to be devoted to them, and perhaps even complete and correct them independently. For the teacher's rules, the teacher is the primary source of comprehensible input in the target language. He creates a classroom atmosphere that is interesting, friendly, and in which there is a low affective filter for learning. The teacher must choose a rich mix of classroom activities involving a variety of group sizes, content, and context.
Hello, my name is Ediane Mbark. Let's learn more about the natural approach. The advantages of the natural approach. This approach is very easy. It is reliable and widely used. Students acquire the target language in a natural and easy way. Students interact in meaningful situations at their own level. There's no grammar instruction in this approach, and teaching materials are designed very well. The natural approach is designed for beginners to help them become intermediates and to help adults in learning the foreign language naturally. How does teaching and learning take place in the natural approach classroom? According to this approach, the emphasis is on presenting comprehensible input in the target language. Teacher talk focuses on object in the classroom and on the content of pictures as with the direct method. To minimize stress, learners are not required to say anything until they feel ready, but they are expected to respond to teachers' commands and questions in other ways. When learners are ready to begin talking in the new language, the teacher provides comprehensible language and simple response opportunities. The teacher talks slowly and distinctly, asking questions and eliciting one-word answers. There is a gradual progression from yes-no questions through either-or questions to questions that students can answer using words they have heard used by the teacher. Students are not expected to use a word actively until they have heard it many times. Charts, pictures, advertisements, and other realia serve as the focal point for questions, and when students' competence permits, talk moves to classroom members. Acquisition activities that focus on meaningful communication rather than language form are emphasized. Peer or group work may be employed, followed by whole class discussion led by the teacher. Some techniques that are used by this approach are pictures, realia, objects, TPR method, such as mimes, gestures, and use of context, situation-based practice, group work activities, and whatever minimizes learners' anxiety and maximizes learners' self-confidence. Here we have some tasks that are based on the natural approach. In this example, students are required to write the jobs in the box under the pictures. Here is another exercise where students are required to fill in the blanks with the right words. In here we have a matching exercise where students have to match the words to the right pictures. Here, students have to classify the words according to the right column. Here is a fun activity where students have to find 2 health problems in each grade, then circle them or color them. In the last exercise, students are required to fill in the blanks with their information about themselves, then share them with the whole class. Now, we are going to watch a video where the teacher is demonstrating how the natural approach is used in the classroom.
Okay, so this is my lesson on using the natural approach for teaching English to novices who are in the early stages of English, their speech production, so they're going to answer yes/no questions. And we're going to do an activity called What's in the Bag. I'll show it. We're focusing on the kitchen and items that we use to eat. So, what's in the bag? What's in the bag? What's in the bag? Plate! Plate. This is a plate. What's in the bag? Cup. Cup. This is a cup. This is a cup. What's in the bag? Napkin. Napkin. This is a napkin. What's in the bag? Spoon. 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 This is a spoon. What's in the bag? Fork. Fork. This is a fork. Fork. What's in the bag? Knife. This is a knife. Knife. What's in the bag? Chopsticks. Chopsticks. These are chopsticks. What is in the bag? Toothbrush. 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 What is in the bag? Toy. 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 What is in the bag? Book. 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 What is in the bag? Comb. 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 Some of these things I can use to eat with, and you use to eat them with them too. So can I drink with a cup?
Yes.
Can I drink with a cup?
Yes.
Yes. Can I eat with a spoon?
Yes.
Do you eat with a spoon?
Yes.
We eat with a spoon. Do I eat with a toothbrush?
No.
Do I eat with a toothbrush? No.
No.
I don't eat with a toothbrush. Can I eat with chopsticks?
Yes.
Can you eat with chopsticks?
Yes.
We eat with chopsticks. Can I eat with a book?
No.
Can I eat with a book?
No.
Can I eat with a fork?
Yes.
Yes. I can eat with a fork. Can I eat with a toy?
No.
No, I can't eat with a toy. Can I eat with a knife?
Yes.
Yes. I can eat with a knife. Can I eat with a comb?
No.
No, I can't eat with a comb. Can I eat with a plate?
Yes.
Yes, I can eat with a plate. Can I eat with a napkin?
Yes.
So good.
Like any other approach, the natural approach also has some disadvantages, as it takes long time and learners can only do elementary things. This approach is rarely concerned about correctness, and it is difficult to apply in public schools. This approach only applies to beginners and is not effective for advanced students. Students produce language when they are ready, which may create a difficulty to advance. And finally, the natural approach ignores many factors essential in second language course design. Thank you for watching.